Welcome to this 13th edition of the Greenstorm Global Photography Award. I'm George Kora, trustee of the Greenstorm Foundation, which is a not-for-profit initiative in the area of environment protection. To know more about Greenstorm and the annual photography event, may I request the managing trustee of the foundation and founder of Organic BPS, a purpose branding company, Mr. Dilip Narayan, to take center stage. Dilip.
Distinguished Chief Guest Dr. Shashi Tharoor, jury members Pratap Sudan, Michael Little, and Aishwarya Sridhar, brilliant participant photographers from across the world, fellow trustees Anil K. Menon and George Kora, governing council and executive council members of the foundation, and my dear friends. Good evening and good afternoon. I can see guests from Kent to Kolkata, Tehran to Sharjah, Dhaka to Manila. Just in this afternoon around 3 o'clock, I got a message from a participant photographer. I'll read the message. Thanks, I will be there if the electric power of my country is on. He's a participant from Kyiv, Ukraine. Our heart, our love goes towards them. We hope and pray that power will be restored soon and the peace will prevail soon. Let me extend a hearty welcome to each one of you to the 13th edition of the Greenstorm Global Photography Award. From forests to farmlands, from freshwater to oceans, the vitality and diversity of our ecosystems are the basis of human prosperity and well-being. Yet, we are degrading these precious ecosystems in alarming ways. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome each one of you to this beautiful award show. Let's restore our green lineage. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilip. This year, we have had over 3,500 entries from across the globe. The top 25 entries are showcased in a short video, which we will now play. Selecting the top 25 from amongst the 3,500 entries was a huge and challenging task. To do this, we had an independent jury, the members of which are top-of-the-line professionals in their vocations. Mr. Pratap Sudan is the chairman of our highly respected and talented jury, and I request him to declare the awards. An advertising guru with interests as diverse as geology, Pratap is a very respected and creative professional. Over to you, Pratap.
My pleasure to announce the first runner-up the second runner-up actually, Hadi Digenpo from Iran gets first second runner-up. And the runner-up comes from all the way in Philippines, from Philippines, Jofel Botero Ibiosa. I hope I got your name right. And the final, the top of the line, the number one, the winner is Mohammad Reza Masumi, again from Iran. Congratulations.
First, I would like to express my sincerest thanks and gratitude to the Greenstorm Foundation and to the esteemed panel of judges. And I would also like to congratulate my fellow winners and finalists in this prestigious global photography festival, the Greenstorm Global Photography Festival.
I am glad to be here today. I am proud that my photo from Iran is presenting this event. The Greenstorm Photo Festival focuses on the protection of Earth's planet. There is an old example that says, we did not inherit the Earth from our fathers. Rather, we have borrowed it from our children. So it's our duty to keep the Earth alive. My photo referred to the need to plant new forests and relive the tree planting culture. The location my photo is from Gilan in Iran. Asalem is a summer region in Iran. Finally, I would like to thank the Greenstorm professional team and hope that the art photography will help save the Earth. Thank you, everyone.
A member of the Indian Parliament, former Under-Secretary of the United Nations, celebrated author, and much respected global thought leader, the very eminent Dr. Shashi Tharoor will now address us.
Namaskaram. It's a pleasure to join you this evening for the 13th edition of the annual Greenstorm Global Photography Award ceremony. My thanks to Mr. Dilip Narayanan, founder of Greenstorm, as well as to Mr. Anil K. Menon and George Koran, trustees of the foundation, for inviting me to address this distinguished gathering. Let me begin by warmly congratulating the 3 winners as well as the 25 finalists for their success today. Having just seen this video presentation, I have no doubt that the jury was left with very difficult decisions to make, given the remarkable quality and the moving and striking nature of the photographs that made it to the final round this year. Though ultimately the jury had to bring it down to 3 winners, I would say that many of the finalists would have been deserving winners, and that all of them were selected from a pool of over 3,500 entries from 42 countries across the world on the theme of Restore Green Lineage is indeed an accomplishment worth celebrating. Though there is always room for argument and other preferences, let me offer my congratulations and appreciation to the winners of this year's edition. The first prize winner, Mr. Mohammad Reza Masumi from Tehran, selected for his marvelous capture of the man-made forest in the Kalkal region in Iran. That entry was closely followed by Jofel Botero Ibiosa from the Philippines, who offered a fascinating interplay between light and shadow and of reality and imagination in his capture of the child holding a plant. And my congratulations finally to the second runner-up, Hadi Deganpur, also from Iran, for his beautiful amalgamation of man-made creation and the power of the natural world. In matters of the environment and the crusade to raise the visibility of issues that pose an existential threat to humanity, there are, of course, no winners or losers, and certainly not in this competition, because the powerful and moving nature of many of the photographs that didn't win the top prizes certainly deserve to be celebrated. Let me take this opportunity to also congratulate the Foundation for organizing this unique platform annually since its inception in 2009. Now, as many of you may know, this year's World Environment Day, celebrated on 5 June every year, is based on the theme Only One Earth. It'll be hosted by Sweden this year, an occasion made all the more special since it also marks 50 years since the Stockholm Conference on the Environment, the first of the great environmental conferences organized by the UN, as well as 50 years since the inception of the United Nations Environment Programme. To my mind, the theme is certainly timely, since it re-emphasizes a certain approach and urgency with which humanity must recognize that this planet is only our home, our only home, and whose finite resources we must strive to safeguard and use them judiciously and equitably. While policymakers, scientists, academia, diplomats all play an important role in setting out the path for us and guiding our futures, I believe that the theme Only One Earth lays a unique responsibility on photographers to help everyone realize and understand visually the fundamental, if not existential, significance that this theme fundamentally holds for each and every one of us. After all, photographs that record and capture certain moments have an incredible ability to move people and to evoke emotions and thoughts, which in turn can inspire action that can potentially change our collective futures from an environmental standpoint. While we celebrate World Environment Day on June 5th, let us not forget that the day also marks the anniversary of the iconic Tank Man picture from Tiananmen Square, which was captured on June 5th, 1989. The Tank Man still remains an unidentified person, an enigma, who bravely attempted to defy military might and the state that backed it by standing in front of a motorcade of tanks. The capture, taken by multiple photographers, including Jeff Widener, Charlie Cole, Stuart Franklin, the capture of this specific moment, a simple nobody who sought to challenge the military crackdown in Tiananmen Square, was not only distributed worldwide to bring international attention to the crisis there, but is also today recognized as a symbol of protest against state oppression. One can imagine the great reverence and power the image still holds when one finds out that it remains largely blocked out of the internet and social media in China. Though today's gathering, fortunately, is not about state oppression, I would argue that individuals like the photographers who participated in this competition are also working towards capturing something equally important, some would say even larger, the crisis of climate change. By capturing all these majestic moments which have certainly left us in awe, through your work, you remind all of us that for all of our scientists' attempts to explore the expanse beyond our planet, it is highly improbable that the human mind, despite all its achievements, is unlikely to be able to capture the beautiful complexity created by millions and millions of years of evolution on planet Earth. While not just reminding us of our unique place in this universe, documenting instances of realities induced by climate change, such as wildfires, the rise in water level, unusual increase in the frequency of floods and cyclones, all of these things provide a stark reminder of the damage we are causing every day to our one and only home, this planet, and of course suffering from the devastating consequences of our own errors and behavior. Climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution have all been closely identified as self-inflicted planetary crises that are closely interlinked and whose consequent effects we're already reeling from, such as excessive rains, cyclones, and extreme temperatures causing devastating floods, which we have witnessed in the last 3 years in Kerala, forest fires, which we have witnessed in India as well as Greece, Australia, the USA, and so on. And those are just a few of the notable ones. Let's not forget Brazil and the Amazon. So moreover, we're seeing all of these fires. We're seeing literally a literal fire in many places and a metaphorical fire consuming our planet. And the truth is that as per current estimates, the world seems on track for a whopping 3 degrees centigrade average temperature increase by the end of the century, which is considerably going to knock aside the goals etched in the Paris Agreement to limit the increase to 2 degrees. Combined with the devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has showed us all the grave risks of the degradation to the ecosystem and a greater need for international cooperation, recent events have made it clear that there is an urgent need for system-wide transformation, both in social and economic systems, through major shifts in policy, in governance, regulation, incentives, and investment. For instance, greater emphasis needs to be put on incorporating natural resources capital accounting into decision-making and business performance, as was famously argued by John Elkin, who developed the idea of a triple bottom line, a PPP, that would actually involve prioritizing not just profit, but the planet and people. This would be the triple bottom line accounting framework that really would underpin sustainable development. At the same time, we cannot afford to forget the human element of our development trajectory, and we must prioritize measures towards reducing inequalities and the risk of social conflict arising from environmental degradation by promoting equity and recognizing community rights to property, resources, and education. Both these aspects are, of course, easier said than done. But if we are to make any progress in this regard, it would certainly require a collaborative effort. For instance, the IPCC recognizes the crucial role of NGOs and civil society groups in influencing societal debate and both global and climate policy by employing civic will to policy discourse and pushing through 3 direct ways: 1, awareness raising, advocacy and agitation; 2, filling in policy gaps through research and advice; 3, create localized constituencies of change where government outreach seems limited. Through platforms such as the Greenstorm Awards, non-governmental groups like you can play an important role in translating the complex science and nuances of climate change for ordinary people, and not just for our consumption, but also in helping vulnerable, marginalized communities realize their rights and protecting their livelihoods. Though the journey ahead and the fight to preserve our environment will not be easy, as I've long argued, we in India only need to look at our past for all the inspiration and encouragement we need in this fight. Today, for example, it's easy to forget that by 1940, after nearly 2 centuries of the Raj, Britain accounted for nearly 10% of global GDP, while India had been reduced to a poor so-called third world country, destitute and starving, a global poster child for poverty and famine. But rather than melt down into chaos and indisposition, the governments of the day set aside their differences, rallied the political class together, and in alliance with the best of our civil society and grassroots pioneers of change, waged successive and indeed successful campaigns against poverty, pestilence, and even patriarchy. We may still have miles to go before we sleep, to borrow from our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, but we also know that it can be done, and so too can be the case with our battle for our natural environment. In a country as diverse and stratified as ours, the crisis that we are required to address every day and the crises that we have to face daily are really many. Our choice of problems and development concerns are equally multiple, and often some will have to take priority over others. But ultimately, we must recognize that the crisis of environmental degradation affects us no matter which part of the country we come from, what political and ideological affiliations we may have, what socioeconomic class we find ourselves in, and indeed, even what time of the year it may be. With its cross-sectoral implications, public health dimensions, and the impact on the economy, and the engine of that economy, the workforce of today's India. Solving this crisis may well prove to be the single most important moonshot of our generation. I thank you all very much for listening to me, and I wish you a very successful event. And once again, my renewed congratulations to the photographers, not just the 3 prize winners, but all the outstanding photographers who made it to the final round. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, and let's save the planet.
Thank you very much, sir, for the very enlightening address and your words of encouragement. Thank you, all viewers. To know more about the activities of our foundation, do visit our website, greenstorm.green. Maybe you could be the winner at the 14th edition of this global photography event. Thank you once again, and goodbye.